Yo, what is up guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we've got another review on the FUT birthday Emre Can. We're going to go through the card details, stats, clips and summary. Before we get into all of that, if I could ask you guys to please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell so you know when I upload, and comment down below if you're going to be grabbing this card. And without further ado, let's get into the video. So guys, this is the team that I used, Emre Can, and played him in that 4-3-1 in that DM spot. I didn't move him in that spot, guys, as well. I wanted to try him in that natural position and see how he did. And overall, guys, my first impressions of this card was okay. I did think he's a good DM, but I don't think he's a great DM, and I feel like he did an okay job for me in there. Let's just get into the card though. Emre Can, 6'1", medium-high work rate, right-footed, 5-star skill moves and 4-star weak foot, 6 games played, 1 goal scored and 1 assist. Now guys, overall, I think all this is pretty nice, especially on the face of the card, and the medium-high work rates are good as well, though we do have a slight issue with that. We will touch on that in the clips a little more. And of course, the 5-star skill moves, 4-star weak foot is lovely to have. In terms of the details, guys, I tried a shadow on him, I tried an engine on him, and I tried the guardian on him. Now overall, guys, I think the engine is probably the one you want to go with. I do feel like leading into the stats that the key cons of this card are that agility. You do really need to help that out, the balance as well, and overall, guys, I feel like because of his size, his dribbling is really poor. The other thing that I really noticed about this card, guys, which is really bad, is his acceleration. Now if you see that 71 acceleration, it's really slow, and you do need to boost that if you're going to have any hope of being able to wade around the midfield with this card and win the ball back. I do feel like his defending stats are pretty decent. I actually don't feel like I needed to boost them given his size as well and his physicality. So guys, that's something to bear in mind as well. You could even focus your efforts completely elsewhere to try and get the best out of this card. In terms of the pros, which we'll lead on to as well, of course the physicality we just mentioned, the defending stats are good too. The passing range is pretty decent on this card as well, guys, which was nice. And the long shots are okay. He does hit them a bit wayward at times, but the shot power is phenomenal. So if you do get one on target, you will test the keeper very well. And finally, getting into the player traits, he's got the dives into tackles, the leadership trait, the flair trait, and the long shot taker. All lovely traits to have. Would have liked a playmaker trait in there, but otherwise cannot complain. And now that we've covered that, we're going to get into some of the clips that I got with him. So guys, getting into some of Emre Can's clips, and what you guys are going to see is his general defensive capability in that base of the midfield. Now guys, the first thing I want to get into with this Emre Can card is that I do think this card is very good. However guys, what I will say is that compared to some of his midfield counterparts who you could play him instead of him, such as Paulinho or Luka Modric was even in this review as well, I do feel like this card was lacking. Now guys, I did struggle for clips with both of those guys just because I wasn't playing that well, so it was hard for me to put together lots of clips for you. So if they do seem stretched out, that is why. First thing I'm going to get into, guys, is Emre Can's passing range. I do feel like it's pretty good. However, he does float the ball a lot, so you have to use that R1 or RB square pass a lot, RB X pass a lot, just to give him that ability to spray the ball a little cleaner than he maybe would need to. Guys, in terms of the overall defending and physicality, both are fantastic, and his tackling is really clean. His physicality is really good as well, so that was really nice to have in this card. He's a big, strong, solid presence in the middle of the park. I do feel like, guys, of course, his pace is lacking, and that's because of his low acceleration. But guys, I do feel like you can counteract that slightly with the right chemistry style. However, you will have to bear in mind his acceleration will still be very low even after that boost. Having said that, I still do think that he needs that boost on his acceleration. Getting into the dribbling stats, guys, he did feel a little bit stiff on the ball, but I think that's to be expected with a player of this size. I don't really feel like that's something you can complain about too much, especially given how good he is on the defensive end. However, what I will say, guys, is that I did struggle to move around with him on the ball cleanly, or as cleanly as Luka Modric or Paulinho did. The final factor we're going to get into, guys, is of course one of the factors that I think is really key for me is his work rates. Now guys, he was forward a lot more than I would have expected. You will need the right instructions on him because for some reason he doesn't play to those medium high work rates. He tends to play to more of a high work rate level, which means that sometimes he can be caught out of position as well, which was just something important to mention for you guys, just because you do want to make sure that you cover your bases with this card, and he does play in the way that you want him to be able to play. Overall, guys, in these last few clips, you're just going to see more of the same. Again, his tackling, intercepting, and general play. And in this final clip, you're going to see the only goal that he scored for me, which was a lovely goal here, which he manages to get a little passing play off here, gets into the box here, and smashes it in. So guys, getting to this final Emre Can summary, 318 on the PlayStation 3, 40 on the Xbox, and 375 on the PC. Now if we get straight into his stats, guys, what you can see here is an overall pretty decent stat set. His dribbling is a little bit of a con, especially that agility and balance there. The pace is a bit of a con as well, especially that acceleration, and that will really be a con for you guys, even if you do manage to boost it. I do feel like, though, that he has very good passing range. Of course, his physicality stats are monstrous, guys, and that's lovely to have. Good tackling stats as well, so really good in terms of a defensive midfielder. You don't really have to focus too much in that regard. However, guys, if you are going to boost this card, you do need to focus heavily on the pace. I would recommend giving the pace as much of a boost as you can, in which case going for a shadow may well be the best way to go. Just give him elite defending and at least help his pace out to a point where, okay, the acceleration isn't great, but at least you're able to now get around the pitch a little faster. If you do feel like you can live with that lower amount of pace, then you could look in other ways to boost this card, of course focusing on the dribbling and the passing as well, just to kind of give him better vision as well, that will allow him to play those passes through the lines that he won't necessarily be able to play at the current time as well. So that could be another way to go. However, my recommended one would be the shadow. If we were to look at similar sorts of players, guys, I actually think the Delaney card, who also is from Dortmund, is a very similar player to this card. I don't feel like any of these are quite similar. Maybe Michael Ballack's mid card as well might be a similar card to this one. However, I do think Ballack is more offensively in tune, whereas Emre Can is a more defensively in tune player. So I do feel like they differ in that regard. But in terms of physicality, I do feel like they are of the same mold. This Paulinho card also a very good shout. In terms of linkability, guys, this is where it gets fun. Of course, perfect links to Royce, Brandt, Hummels, other players in there as well, such as Schultz, I believe. So lots of linkability in there. Strong links to, of course, German players across the Bundesliga, as well as other Dortmund players that have been released throughout the year. So some really lovely linkability on this card. In terms of the price comparison, guys, if we look at where he sits just below Bruno Fernandes and above a bunch of icons here, and Renato Sanchez's Europa League live card. If you ask me, guys, where does he rank in terms of all of this? Do I think he is better than all of these icons here? I certainly think he plays better than this Michael Essien does, so I think it's a fair price for him at that point. If I was to look upwards towards this prime icon Frank Rijkaard, I would say Frank Rijkaard is maybe a bit more around a similar sort of level, in terms of capability. So I do feel like this Emre Can is priced well for where he's at, and considering who you can link him in with and how you can link him into your teams as well, I do feel like this card is priced well. If you ask me, is he above his station in terms of capability? Is he better than, say, Joshua Kimmich's third in form? I would have to say no. I do feel like that card is a little more dynamic. However, what you do get with this card is a very well-rounded, very capable midfielder, which leads me into my final opinion on this card, guys, which is, if you are going to pick up this card and you can link him really well into your team using a Marco Reus or a Julian Brandt or a Rainier or a Jadon Sancho, for example, then go ahead and grab this card. However, guys, I would not be looking at this card as a player that can really drive the team forward, as a player who really is the difference maker in your team. He's a very good piece of your team that you should be building with, rather than focusing your team around him. Just a good, serviceable player. Hope you guys did enjoy this review. If you did, please do smash that like button. Until next time, I will see you all in a bit.